McGillicuddy and Murder's Pawn Shop, Season 5, Episode 13. Whiskalit 0 is dead. October 31st, 1921, continued. Ariana stared into my eyes. She had just told me that she had used the power of the Whiskalits to erase me. She'd had just enough twisted, impossible magic from them to change one small gesture in history, which was stopping the teacup from smashing in Mara's kitchen, preventing the creation of my china eye, and with it the creation of myself as a magic unusual, the creation of this life. My fingers shook. Ever since I met her, diary, she had had this strange power. Like she could get into my blood and brain. Like I needed to do as she wanted or something bad would happen. She betrayed me, and that was a sudden horrible burst of bad, but even before that, there had been this soft rage in her. I have mentioned it before, I think, in recent Trails of Ink. I have a core fear that if I flout her, she will wreck me. It is like I recognize the capability in her, the wolf, the non-human, who will simply tear if given the chance. So little holds her on the threshold of humanity. I fear that very much, and I feared it looking into her eyes. She had done it, too. She had torn. Why me? Why us? Why were we pitted to be such enemies? Because she had just done the worst thing imaginable to me. She was taking the story away. She wanted me to go back into the box. Well, I was not going to go back. I blinked into her eyes. Did she want me to be afraid? What sort of reaction was she expecting from me? I don't believe you, I said, even though I did. The china eye was gone. This was why. She claimed that other details of my story would begin to disappear. How soon, I wondered. Soon enough to stop this? I could have just let you vanish, she said, but I wanted you to at least know. I'm sorry. I thought you deserved to know. This didn't merit a response. I leaned back in the chair and stared at the smoke and mirrors in the room. And now, Ariana said, I'm going to leave you in here. See, it doesn't really matter where you go or what you do. You can go free if you want. I know you can't stop my empire before you're gone. It's impossible to give a soul back. Your friends are gone. They're my friends now. I would have let you join us, except I had to stop you. Stop that spell you broke from ever getting broken. The Whiskalits made me do it, Maud. They really did. They saw what you had done and they practically shoved the magic into my hands, really. I didn't have much of a choice. Sure, you didn't. That poor idiot. They needed it to be this way, she said. And then she brushed out of the room. I think she has gotten worse, diary. Really much worse. Or I have gotten more perceptive. There was a chemistry that she brought into this room, oily and foul, as if her insides were so stressed and guilty and strange that she affected the electricity in the air. Poor thing. I know it's strange of me to pity her. How much of our friendship was real and how much of it was all manipulation from the beginning. I don't know if I will ever know. But I believe in the girl she could have been. I hope that girl gets to live. Ariana shut the door, and I wrapped my arms across my chest and felt, very deeply, with 6 or 7 deep inhales. As much as I was in a blizzard of pain and fear, diary, I also had a huge spark of hope. Fire, melting all the whirls of snow. Ariana had said that the Whiskalits had needed it to be this way. I assumed she was only pointing all the blame on them, and how much they had made her do it, to keep from feeling guilty. But, with all her little lies, I did see a sharp glint of truth. The Whiskalits never would have given her power to change history for no reason. Power to do something, for free. It wasn't in their natures. Ariana had said that she and the Whiskalits sat down and watched the future unfold. Perhaps they used their strange glass apparatuses, watched our futures in a crystal ball. I think they must sit petted in their world, very unafraid, And I don't think they peer anxiously into the future. Not often. Not often at all. Certainly not in the last 3 months. But at Ariana's request, they had peered into the future. And then they had seen something that wasn't just bad for her. They saw something that was bad for them. I know this because they gave her magic. Something I have done is very bad for them. I have already broken this spell. I have already done it. I have set something in motion that is so terrifying to the Whiskalits that they want me erased. The Whiskalits are terrified of me, which means we are almost finished creating their destruction. I think I know what spell I broke, Diary. I am not going to tell you, in case I am wrong, but I think I know what the Whiskalits are so afraid of. Now, if only I can figure out what Maud does, how Maud harms them, what this terrible, threatening thing that I do to them is. It is in motion. It has begun. If only I can finish it. Diary, I know I don't have time. Not for everything. We have to save Wrath's life. We have to heal every Night Enthusiast. And I now want more than ever to stop the Whiskalits. End them somehow. What I must do right away, however, is find a way to stop myself from disappearing. If I go, it all goes. Think about it. Even Wrath disappears because he stays stuck in that train car forever. I had to get out of here. I was still sitting in this salty, smoky room, as if Ariana's words were handcuffs holding me down. I got up and walked away. I teleported out of the building, idly, to 2 or 3 places so no one could catch me. Noble was still in the Night Enthusiast base. So was Octavia. I wanted to help them, to find out what was happening to them, but I was reeling. Soon Ariana would probably tell Noble smugly that I was disappearing. I had to find an answer to this. I needed to think. I teleported to the middle of nowhere, a place I'd once been, to visit a relative no longer living. I barely remembered it, but I pictured the straggly, large-limbed tree from my childhood in my mind, and I arrived. It was hot for October, compared to what I'm used to. The ground was dry. I felt itchy just looking at the spindly yellow grasses. Magic Unusuals tend to teleport to interesting locations, because they're spots that we keep easily in our minds. I knew if I didn't want anyone to ever find me, I should go here, where the houses were quieter, made more of lumber and shingle than made to be pretty, rain barrels and dirt roads in a sort of quiet hostility. Why would Maud ever go here? No one would think to look for me. I marched and thought. A woman alone, still wearing a winter jacket. I tore off the jacket and continued to walk. I was hot and sticky already. Perhaps a foul mood would be just the thing to get my brain into angry action. People peered out of their windows. They brushed aside thin white curtains and scowled at me. They didn't like me, just by looking at me. What? I wanted to holler at them, my arms outstretched. What, do you not like me because you can sense I have lesbian blood in me? Not that lesbian was the exact right word, but it made me proud to say. I was finger-painting with pieces of myself, and I was still finding the words. Besides the pride, I was in a mood all right. Hot, sticky, grumpy. Then I looked up at the porch of a house, and I had all the breath knocked out of me. Diary, I couldn't stop staring at it. A woman had nailed a sign to the top of her roof, and carefully written with a brush and black paint, "Japs keep moving. This is a white man's neighborhood." I couldn't believe it. Then I could believe it. I stared at it and I thought of Noble and Tulsa. This was them. Death to all mice. Not that the Whiskalits had hunched here cackling and giggling and written out that sign with their insane fingers. But that ideology, it was here. It was everywhere. I wanted to crush it like a cockroach. This seemed to be all that was wrong with the world. In a nutshell. That single phrase, death to all mice. That horrible, seemingly endless philosophy. Other people are less human than me. I am better than other people, us versus them. To see other humans as other, instead of just as human as you are. I was so furious, Diary. I was done. I had to end the Whiskalits. Not that they did all of these things on their own, but I know they had contributed power and magic to this evil belief. If I could get rid of them, if I could end them, then things would be better for humanity. No more of these humanity haters getting added power to sway people's minds. As I walked along, I heard the rhythm of my footsteps in the grass, and the rhythm became a kind of chant. I remembered what I'd overheard once in the Whiskalit cave. Whiskalit 0 is dead. The first Whiskalit ever to live, and she is dead. It is like a mantra uttered in the barricades of war. Whiskalit 0 is dead. Dead. They can be stopped. They can be killed. But how? If only that phrase could be forgotten. The way of summoning them. If only it could be forgotten. Who had learned the phrase? Why had I seen it on the wall? And how many others knew? I wished to bury it. I was so furious that someone had left it for me, like a Pandora's box, where only I could see it. I was thick with rage. I don't normally get angry, diary, but I was livid. Everyone was trying to ruin everyone else's life. My life was on that list, thanks to Ariana believing I was expendable. A mouse, perhaps? Was I a mouse to Ariana now? Anyway, I looked down to snatch my magic jelly and head straight to the Whiskalit cave. That was the kind of mood I was in. But my hands closed on empty air. Magic jelly was gone. Stolen by the night enthusiasts. Back I went. Back to the night enthusiast office, where I hurried from hall to hall, and only just ran into Noble. "Maud," he said, "thank God! Did you escape?" "No," I said. "She let me go." He cocked his head. "She didn't let you go." Noble clearly had no faith in the goodness of Ariana. "No," I said, "she did let me go. It's a long story. I'll explain later." "Have they tested you yet?" "No," Noble said, "and I'm about to vanish before they do. Listen, Octavia is switching back. She feels terrible. She's struggling a lot, but the spell is starting to break. I'm going to take her back blindfolded to the houseboat. She said she's willing to start to give us ideas on how to heal Wrath. She definitely doesn't want him to die, no matter where her allegiance lies." "Perfect," I said. "I'll meet you there." "Where are you going?" Noble said. "Nowhere," I said. "I just have to take a quick jaunt somewhere. Any chance Octavia had her change of heart before she handed over all my magic jelly?" Octavia had not had her change of heart before handing it over, but the people keeping it locked up in a bin hadn't gotten the memo about Noble. They let him walk right out with it. He smuggled my satchel back to me a moment later. "Noble," I said, "promise you'll get out of here now." "I was going to say the same thing to you," he said. "Don't stay. Something bad will happen. It always does with them." "All right," I said, "then we'll both leave right now, and we'll meet up at the houseboat, because nothing will go wrong." "Well, all right then," he said. He hurried off. What if something did go wrong? What if he rejoined Octavia only to find that her allegiances had swapped yet again? What if someone tested him for lack of soul before he had a chance to escape? "Please be all right," I breathed. If all went perfectly, he and Octavia would be with Wrath in Scotland when I returned there in an hour. Wrath would be healing already because of some brilliant plan Octavia had. I would leave it all in fate's hands for now, because there was something I wanted to do. I left the night enthusiast office. I went to a field in the middle of nowhere and used some magic jelly on top of a rock. I made a doorway to the Whiskalit cave, the place of blood mushrooms and eternal quiet and a kind of sickness in the air. I took a few anxious swallows before touching it. I knew I wanted to go there, but I wasn't sure how much. I arrived in the Whiskalit cave, and it smelled more like moss and damp than I'd remembered. I had taken myself straight to their magic room, where they had caught me once while I was hiding under a table. This was the place of books and apparatuses. The Whiskalits were not here. The lights were on, a pleasant yellow. Around me, the cave echoed as I worked, and I wondered if they had any sense at all that I was here. I felt, and this is hard to put into words, diary, as I flitted around, rummaging in their possessions, I felt like a fly. Their world is huge. Compared to everything they possess, I felt as small as a bug in someone's home. Often, flies get up to things before you know they're there. I felt insignificant, but secretive. I was so little to them. Why should they notice? I know the Whiskalits are obsessed with themselves, and, like moody narcissists, I assumed they would keep extensive records of themselves. Probably logs of what they had for dinner, journal entries as boring as mine might have been if I had never become a magic unusual. As boring as they might become if all of this never happens. Can't think about that. I went straight for the books and flipped. After skimming through a few volumes, I hefted a huge book with pages 15 inches wide and a gnarled leather cover onto the table. I began to read, and sure enough, it was a record. It was horrible and fascinating stuff, diary, the things in these pages. I brushed past everything in the interest of time, searching only for the word 0. I felt like whole eons could pass while I twirled back page after page, and I did not want to get lost in the time spell of these horrifying stories. I learned quite a bit about the Whiskalits, what spells they had set up to protect their world, how they made those spells in the first place, the spiderweb threads on which those spells hung. At last, in the middle of the book, I found what I needed. I imagined it being spoken in one of their horrid little voices. Whiskalit 0 died today. Whiskalit 10 was angry and attacked. He did not think it could be done, but she lies dead. Our great leader, with blood spilled and no more life. Of course, we are already dead in our way, but now she is truly gone. Her spirit went beyond, instead of hovering eternally in our in-between world. Whiskalit 0 is dead. We thought that we were eternal, but we see we can be killed. Humans cannot kill us, of course. We are invincible to humans. But we did not think everything through. Our perfect scheme, it seems, has a hole. Whiskalits can be killed by other Whiskalits. Our spells are not eternal. We, the Whiskalit, can undo our spells. We must try to maintain the peace. I shut the book with a slam and put it away, my hands shaking. That was what I needed to know. But was it good enough? Whiskalits could kill other Whiskalits. Only they could destroy themselves. It was at this point, diary, thinking about history and journal entries, that I checked her pages, just briefly, just to see, before I returned home to the houseboat. And bits of you are gone. I see whole blank sections, and I know their story is there, but I honestly don't remember what goes there. What? What have I forgotten? What Ariana has done has already started happening. I don't know how much time I have left. I know that I should be fighting to undo this magic of Ariana's, but there's something else. I am burning with it. If I stop being a magic unusual in a few more hours, if I lose my ability to time travel, I've got to do this one thing, for me, before this story ends. We hope you've enjoyed Season 5, Episode 13, Whiskalit 0 is Dead, of McGillicuddy and Murderous Pawnshop. McGillicuddy and Murderous Pawnshop is written and performed by Minerva Sweeney Wren, all rights reserved. Thank you for continuing all this way with Maud's adventures. New audio dramas are coming, and there is news on those as well as fandom fun if you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Meg Macaulay Inc. That's Inc, I-N-K. Please consider becoming a monthly supporter on Patreon. Or, if you can't commit right now, say thank you with a one-time donation. I now have Venmo. At Minerva Sweeney Wren. All links are in the description of this episode. McGillicuddy and Murder's Pawnshop will continue with Season 5, Episode 14. It was all going to happen.